Here's something that should stop you cold. The United States, the most powerful military nation in the history of this planet, has just started a war, and it has absolutely no idea how to end it. We are now on day 4 of Operation Epic Fury. America and Israel launched coordinated strikes on Iran on February 28, 2026. They killed the supreme leader. They bombed over 1,700 targets. They brought the full weight of the American war machine down on Tehran. And Iran is still firing. 6 American soldiers are dead. The Strait of Hormuz, the artery through which 20% of the world's oil flows every single day, is now closed. Oil prices are spiking. And the people in Washington who sold you this war, they're already changing their story. So today, let's break this down. 5 big questions, real answers, no spin. Let's set the scene quickly because you need this context. On February 28, 2026, at 1:15 in the morning Eastern Time, the United States and Israel launched a massive, coordinated military campaign against Iran. The Pentagon called it Operation Epic Fury. Sounds like a video game, right? But the consequences are very, very real. In the first 72 hours alone, US and Israeli forces struck more than 1,700 targets across Iran, nuclear sites, military bases, command centers, and yes, civilian areas too. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Iran's supreme leader of 35 years, was killed on the very first day. Iran's top military brass, gone. Senior IRGC commanders, gone. Trump went on TV and said, "We have virtually unlimited supply. We have weapons that no one else has. We can fight a forever war." Bold words. But here's where the story gets complicated. Because what happened next, nobody in Washington saw coming. Okay, first question. And this one is genuinely wild. Why is America fighting this war? I know that sounds like a strange question. Surely they had a clear reason before dropping bombs on a country of 90 million people. Right, here's what actually happened. Day 1, Trump said the mission is to destroy Iran's nuclear program. Okay, that's a clear objective. Day 2, Trump then said, actually, we want regime change. We want to bring democracy to Iran. Different goal entirely. Day 3, the defense secretary steps up and says, no, we want to degrade Iran's missile capability. Third goal, 3 days in. Day 4, then Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, comes out and says the real reason is that Israel was about to attack Iran first, and if Israel attacked, Iran would attack America. So we attacked first to prevent that. Let that sink in for a second. The official justification for starting a war with Iran is that Israel was going to do something. America went to war not because of an American threat, but because of what Israel was planning to do. And here's where it gets even messier. Remember back in June of 2025, when Trump already struck Iran's nuclear facilities? J.D. Vance, the vice president, recently admitted that those June strikes may not have fully worked. So you're telling me, you bombed Iran once, it didn't work, and now you're doing it again, with a different reason every single day. The 2025 Defense Intelligence Agency report, that's America's own intelligence, concluded that Iran did not have ballistic missiles capable of hitting the United States. The threat was not imminent. The intelligence didn't support it. As the New York Times put it, Trump dragged America into this war without an exit strategy. And the reason keeps changing because the real reason doesn't hold up to scrutiny. Question 2, and I want you to really think about this one. Did Israel pull America into this war? Based on what Rubio himself said, yes. He literally told Congress that Israel was about to attack Iran, so America acted first on Israel's behalf. That's not a conspiracy theory. That is the official explanation from the US Secretary of State. Iran's own foreign minister said it directly. This was a war of choice. America is fighting this war for Israel, not for its own interests. American citizens deserve better. But here's what's most remarkable. It's not just Iran saying this. It's Trump's own base. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is arguably Trump's biggest supporter in Congress, posted on social media and called the Trump administration, and I'm quoting her directly, a bunch of sick liars. She said, "We voted for America first and zero wars." Tucker Carlson called the bombing of Iran disgusting. Conservative commentator Matt Walsh said publicly, "I'm confused. You said you were the peacemaker. You said no more stupid wars." A CNN poll found that nearly 60% of Americans disapprove of the decision to attack Iran. A Reuters poll found only 30% approval for this military campaign. Think about that. Trump started a war that his own voters, his own party, and 60% of the country doesn't support, and the justification changes every 24 hours. Third question, and this is where the military reality starts crashing into the political fantasy. Was America actually prepared for this war? Before the first bomb dropped, the US had already spent $1.5 billion just positioning aircraft carriers, naval vessels, and air assets in the region. That's before a single missile was fired. Then on March 1st, just 3 days into the war, 3 American F-15 fighters went down over Kuwait in what the Pentagon is calling a friendly fire incident. 3 at once. In a friendly fire incident, that's not a typo. But the biggest problem isn't the jets, it's the Interceptor missiles. Here's something most people don't understand. Every time Iran fires a ballistic missile, America has to shoot it down with an Interceptor, a Patriot missile, or a THAAD. And those interceptors are very expensive and very limited. On just day 1, Israel alone had to deal with 165 ballistic missiles, 2 cruise missiles, and 541 Iranian drones. In one day, Bloomberg analysts warned that UAE's interceptor stockpile could be empty within 1 week, Qatar's within 4 days. The US is now pulling interceptors from Ukraine, from the Indo-Pacific, weakening defense everywhere else in the world, just to keep up with Iran's missile rate. And why can't they stop the missiles at the source? Because of something called the Mosaic defense. Iran had a plan for exactly this scenario. When Khamenei was killed, Iran activated its decentralized Mosaic defense doctrine. The IRGC, Iran's Revolutionary Guard, split into 31 completely independent units, 1 for Tehran, 1 for each province. Each unit has full autonomy, full firepower, no orders needed from above. Iran's own foreign minister said it himself, military units are currently out of contact. There is no central command. Now, here's the brutal irony. America killed Iran's entire leadership to stop the war. But by doing that, they made the war impossible to stop. There is no one left to negotiate with. There is no one left to call. There is no one left to sign a ceasefire. America didn't decapitate Iran's military. It turned Iran into a headless, unstoppable war machine with 31 independent heads. Question 4, and this one could change everything. Saudi Arabia's Ras Tanura oil refinery, the largest in the country, was hit by a drone strike. Initially everyone assumed Iran did it. Iran is retaliating against everyone in the region, right? But then something strange happened. Iran publicly denied attacking Saudi Arabia. Iran's foreign minister said, "We would never attack our brothers in the Gulf this way." And now Iran is accusing Israel of orchestrating the attack as a false flag, specifically to drag Saudi Arabia into the war against Iran. Riyadh is investigating. They haven't confirmed who did it, but think about what this means. If Saudi Arabia's own investigation concludes that Israel, their supposed partner in this coalition, deliberately attacked their oil infrastructure to manipulate them into a war, the entire coalition falls apart overnight. The American-Israeli Gulf alliance that this whole operation depends on gone. And if that happens while Iran is still firing missiles from 31 independent units with no ceasefire possible, this war doesn't just get complicated. This war gets catastrophic. Now I want to talk about something that is getting almost zero coverage in Western media, and it might be the most important part of this entire story. While Washington debates strategy and Tel Aviv counts missiles, the world's poorest countries are getting crushed. Let's start with oil. The Strait Sota of Hormuz, the narrow waterway between Iran and Oman, carries 20 to 21 million barrels of oil every single day. That's roughly 20% of the entire world's oil supply. It is now effectively closed. Iran's Revolutionary Guards have said they will set fire to any ship that tries to pass through. Brent crude is already at $80 a barrel. Analysts are warning it could hit $120 to $150 if this continues. Qatar, the world's largest LNG exporter, has shut down operations. European gas prices are already up more than 50%. Now here's what that means for the average American. Higher gas prices, higher food prices, more inflation. Just as Trump was declaring inflation tamed, boom. But Americans at least have options. They have reserves. They have alternatives. The people who have no options are in the global south. Think about Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nigeria, Kenya, Egypt. These countries import almost all of their oil. There are no alternatives. There are no strategic reserves to fall back on. When oil goes from $80 to $120, food prices in these countries spike, Because farming runs on diesel, transport runs on diesel, electricity generation runs on fuel. When energy costs double, people go hungry. Not metaphorically, literally. The farming families in Punjab, the factory workers in Dhaka, the street vendors in Lagos, they didn't vote for this war. They don't have an opinion on Iran's nuclear program. They just need to feed their children. America started this war, but the people paying for it aren't in Tehran or Washington. They're in Karachi and Nairobi and Colombo and Cairo. And that story barely gets a headline in the Western press. Final question, and honestly the most important one. How does this end? The Trump administration thought this would be quick, for maybe 5 days of precision strikes. Iran's leadership gone, nuclear program destroyed. Iran folds, done. But that was never realistic. And history tells us why. Look at Afghanistan. America went in with overwhelming force. They toppled the government in weeks. 20 years later, they left with nothing, and the Taliban were back in power. Look at Iraq. Look at Libya. Every time the West has gone in, removed the leadership, and declared victory, it has ended in a long, expensive, unwinnable mess. And Iran is actually harder than any of those cases because of the mosaic defense. There is no central leadership to negotiate with. Even if Trump picks up the phone tomorrow and says, "Okay, we want a ceasefire," who does he call? There are 31 autonomous IRGC units in the mountains and deserts of Iran, firing independently. You can't negotiate with a doctrine. The US has 2 options. 1. Keep bombing every inch of Iran until every single missile launcher is physically destroyed. That takes months. It is brutally expensive, and there is no guarantee it works. Or to somehow encourage Iran to rebuild a central command structure. Promise not to bomb it, and then try to negotiate. But after killing everyone, why would Iran trust that offer? UAE and Qatar, America's own Gulf partners, are already privately pushing Washington to find an off-ramp. China, which buys 80% of Iranian oil, is quietly telling Tehran to keep the strait open. But Beijing isn't getting involved militarily. The uncomfortable truth is this: a devastated, bombed, humiliated Iran has nothing to lose and everything to fight for. As long as a single missile launcher survives, they will fire it. History has shown us this pattern over and over again. So here's where we are. America is in a war it can't define, fighting for reasons it keeps changing, against an enemy it made impossible to negotiate with, while the global economy begins to crack, and the world's poorest people pay the price that Washington never will. The question was never whether America could win this war. The real question is, what does winning even look like? Nobody in the Trump administration has answered that. Not on day 1, not on day 4. And if history is any guide, they won't have an answer in 4 months either. If you believe the world deserves honest, straight-talking coverage of what's actually happening, not just what governments want you to hear, then hit subscribe. It genuinely helps this channel keep doing this kind of work. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think America has a clear endgame here? I want to know what you think. I'll see you in the next one.